Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something fun and new to me. So I went up on vacation a few weeks ago, and in this little Amish store there was custom painted lures. I didn't even know you could custom paint lures. Let's get that straight first. Didn't know there was such thing as these, which are crankbait lure blanks. Anyway, so the guy there, he did a fantastic job. I wish I remembered his name, but I don't. Anyway, while I was there and I was looking at all of his baits, because he did more than just these crankbaits, he did a crap ton of other ones. He ended up making some into keychains. And I was like, that is so cool. Like, I've never seen this before. So I started doing a little bit of research on YouTube to see how to properly prep them if I were to get them. And I will link that man's video down below. He does use an airbrush. So I actually looked up like a couple different people, but the main guy that I use, I will link down below. So when starting out, you see me wipe them down. I wipe them down with alcohol to get any oils from my hands off, because that's what he did. I don't know if it's necessarily going to matter, because these are just for keychains, and you know, I'm covering them in resin at the end, like a UV resin. So I don't know if it really matters if I put on the rubbing alcohol, but I did it just to be sure, just to be careful, cautious, because I didn't want things to chip and not work. So I started out with 2 layers of white paint, and I was like, oh, this isn't too bad. And then I started in with the colors, and it seemed like it was streaky, and I wasn't sure if it was because it was 1 layer or if it was my paintbrush, or if it's because the paint was too thick, because he was using an airbrush. So, you know, I was doing my own thing. I just basically got the prep work from him, so that way I kind of didn't screw them up right off rip. So I put on quite a few coats, quite a few layers, and quite a few different colors, just to mix it on the actual lure itself. I do go through all 3 designs here, but this first one, because it was my very first one ever, I stuck with this one until it was completely finished to make sure I could get them to look good before I did the other 2, or if I had to do more research with it. And I thought he turned out really super cute, so I do end up doing the other 2 in the video, and I swap back and forth between the 2 for dry time, basically, so that way I didn't have to wait around, because there was a lot of like waiting around for this one to dry in between layers and coats when I was done. But I picked like lure colors, so like the bright, pretty, I don't know if that makes a difference, but the bright, pretty colors that you would see on real lures. And the reason I struggled a little bit, number 1, never have I touched, or I shouldn't say touch, never have I tried to paint a lure. So that posed its own challenges. And I don't really paint like 3D objects very often. And I put the chain on, like I'm struggling with the chain a little bit, but I put the chain on because in between dry times I was like, how am I gonna get this to, like, I can't set it down and I don't want to hold it while it's drying. So I put the keychain on and then put it on a holder, so I'd slip the keychain on and then it would dangle. Made it a lot easier in that aspect of like drying. So let's just say if I'm going to continue to do these, definitely gonna need to get like a drying rack for them, because I was only able to do tops of 2 at a time. I attempted 3 this time, and I ended up having a mishap to where one touched the other that was already like resined. So I resined this one, and then I had him hanging just to have him hang because I didn't want to ruin him because I just got him done. And of course, wet paint got on the resin. Yes, it was easy to take off because I caught it right away, but I can only paint like 2 at a time with wet paint. So definitely got to figure out like a stand. I did enjoy it. It took way longer and it was way harder than I actually gave it credit for. I was like, oh, those look so cute. I bet you they'd paint up really quickly. No, they do not. It took me many, many hours just to do the 3 fish. And I don't know if that was because I was trying to keep it on the camera, give you guys like a good view. So I am going to paint some off the camera and see if it is just because I'm not used to painting the lures or if it is actually as hard as I made it look in this video. Everybody that I looked up that did it, they must have been doing it for a while because they're really fast and really good. But yeah, this is just strictly for my channel, and I have a art thing that I do every year that lasts like a month, and that's coming up, and I thought these would look super cool and super unique there. So I wanted to get, you know, a couple painted here and then definitely attempt to paint a few more, even if it's off camera. Maybe I'll make a couple of shorts after I get the other fish done. Because I'm gonna make some that don't even look like actual lures. I'm just gonna paint on them and see how they turn out. You know, it just we're gonna have fun with this. So yeah, this is new and I liked it. That is all. And I didn't have any specific designs in mind when I was doing it. It was just what I thought would look good or cute. You know, just trying to be unique with each and every fish. And even if I think even if I set out to make like a duplicate of one of the lures, like the man at the Amish community, he could make them look super similar, and you can tell he hand painted each one. You could tell that he hand painted each one, but they were so similar, and I couldn't even get the proper amount of dots on the same side of the same fish. Couldn't even get him to look the same. So, you know, the art that must go into him doing that, and the skill and the time. So he could make different lures look almost the exact same. So envious. Here I'm showing you I got the eyeballs on, and I didn't realize that the eyeballs that they sent with the kit that I bought actually don't fit in the holes all the way. So there's a space between where the eyeball sits and where you should paint. So I had to go back through and I painted it with black around the eye. And then I had to wait for it to completely dry, obviously. And then I'm just showing here, I'm using a UV resin. I'm using a silicone brush. I'm brushing it around. I'm getting everything that I possibly can. So that way it's basically clear coated, but it's going to be able to handle a little bit more than if I did just like an acrylic sealer, because this is obviously going to be harder and more durable, and I want the paint to last. So we go through, we do this, and then it's just a little light. I'm not going to go through the whole process or anything, but here he is finished, nice and shiny. And then I was like, you know what? We're going to do the other ones because the paint's already out. I might as well use it while it's wet. But I didn't want to do the same design. So I went through and you know, I was looking up on Pinterest, like what lures look like. And there's some that are actual fish colored. There are some that are just bright and obnoxious. So I don't think there's any really rhyme or reason to a lure. So I just was like, okay, we'll just change around the colors and go from there. So that's what I ended up doing. And this second one went a little bit better and quicker than the first one. And I realized after I put the resin on the first one, because I was worried about the paint streaks, the brush strokes, because you can clearly see that they're there. You couldn't tell that they were there after you put on the resin, after, you know, you baked them and stuff. You couldn't tell that the resin, or not the resin, the brush strokes were there. So it made me feel a little bit more confident having the one underneath my belt that, you know, even though I could see the paint streaks and the strokes, and you can't really tell underneath the resin, which is helpful to know. So here I wanted to do more of a brighter colored fish, so I really locked down on that yellow and then the lime green. But then I go back through and I have color shifting paint that I went over on the top with the green, but it ended up covering up too much. You know, I used it in one of my other videos, and even though the board itself was gessoed and white, it took more than one coat and to cover it. So I figured it would work fine on this, just to give it a little bit of a shimmer. Oh no, it covered it. I don't know why. So these are the two that I'm going to be bouncing between. I realized as I'm editing this video that the second one that I just had up there with the darker green, I could have made that into a bass. Oh no, I did not go that way with it. I went more, I think more like a rainbow trout, bright pink, bright blue afterward. So if I make more, because I'm probably going to, because I actually really liked how they turned out. This one here, I'll probably make one of them into a bass, because that is such a good bass color, and the camera's not really picking it up, but it does have a shimmer to it. So I feel like it would be a really good one to have be a bass, because it's shiny, and then the bass markings are super simple. So may try that. And here, that's the color shifter that I'm putting on now. And yeah, you can kind of see the green underneath, but it covered up way too much for my liking. So that's why I went back over it with the lime green. So now it just has multiple different greens and colors. So when I was doing the design of this one, like I said, I didn't have any plans or rhyme or reason with it. It just, whatever felt right. I screwed up on the back part, and instead of painting over it with white again, I just filled it in. And you know what? I still like it. So we're gonna go with it. We're gonna embrace mistakes with these, because, you know, that's how you learn. And that's what we're gonna go with. And I'm sure with time, I'll get better at doing this and better at keeping the fish actually in frame. I kept bringing it up closer to my face, because camera angle's funny, and the way my camera is my arms are like stretched out way further than they probably should be to do this, but it's really the only place for the camera to go. So I ended up doing the same thing here that I did with the first fish. I put the eyes on and then filled in around it with black, and that's just, you know, I tried to get the color, it didn't work, and I just said screw it. So this is where you're going to see me kind of screw up the back, because I was trying to get these even throughout the middle, and I was unable to do so right there. And so I just fill it in black. And then I was like, you know what? It doesn't look bad, so I just kept going. And with the end of all of my rambling, I will catch you guys at the end when I show you what they look like all resined. So here are the end results. Let me know what you think of them in the comments below. If you liked what you see here, I'm going to be doing things like this more often, so you can like and subscribe. And if there are any designs that you guys want to see me try, let me know down in the comments below, because I really enjoyed this. So I will see you guys next time. Have a great one. Bye.